Simply put, I have 9 Call of Duties. 7 of them have campaigns. 6 of them I've completed. Ghost is the only outlier in this, which I'm still on the fence about. But this video, for the 6 I have completed, will be dedicated to ranking those from worst to best. I will provide a score and a bit of a mini review, as well as pros and cons as to why a campaign placed where it did. Now, I might trigger a few alarms with some of you, so please, before you kill me and shoot me with executioners, just give me a chance to explain. And with that, enjoy the video. It does hurt to say this about Black Ops 3, because I tried to like it. I played it from start to finish. I beat the campaign for the first time just a few nights ago. I played it all from start to finish. Took me 6 hours, 15 minutes, so it's actually more lengthy than most campaigns, which is cool, because most campaigns usually stop at around the 4.5 hour mark, if you're playing on Recruit, that is. But it took me 6 hours to play the entire game, and I was fine with that, right? Like, okay, so they have room for a lot of story, and I noticed gameplay was longer too. Missions didn't come and go quite as quickly, okay? Except the story. The story, I get what they were trying to go for. World at War, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, they all had deeper stories than what we were used to. You play the original Modern Warfare trilogy, and they're more about spectacle, right? Their stories aren't quite as strong, but they're about the gameplay. But when it comes to Treyarch, you could tell they wanted to account for both gameplay and story and mash them together, but Black Ops 3 went way too hard on the story. I promise you, everything you think you know about the story will change in one mission. The last mission of the game will have you questioning your sanity. So, just be aware of that, because you will very likely need some help from people online to explain to you what is going on. I also do want to say that the gameplay in Black Ops 3 was kind of on the mediocre side. I didn't mind it, I didn't really have anything against it, but it wasn't great either. There were some parts that were alright, but for the most part, we were just killing robots. If we want to kill robots, let's just go play Sonic Adventure 2 or some shit. Why Black Ops 3? I get that they tried to be innovative with the futuristic stuff, and in some cases they did. Like, the tactical abilities and things like that, with how you can change your sights and everything like that. That's cool. The cybercore abilities, too, that was a really nice touch. And just the overall technology in the game really fits the futuristic atmosphere of the game, right? But I'm not a big futuristic Call of Duty player, and I know a lot of you are against that, so understandably so. I think the futuristic side of Black Ops 3 kind of overtakes it. And that's not exactly what I want in my Call of Duty games, but if I had to score Black Ops 3 out of 10, I'd probably give it about a 6? It's not bad, but mediocre is the right word. MW3 has to take the next spot for me, because while it's more grounded than Black Ops 3, both figuratively and literally, it's still made for an alright experience at best. It didn't really innovate beyond what Modern Warfare 2 did, and understandably so, because Modern Warfare 2 was an excellent campaign, which we'll touch upon later, but unfortunately, it felt like Modern Warfare 2, but all that life and spectacle aspect of it has been sapped from it plentifully. And while there are a couple notable missions here, Dust to Dust, Down the Rabbit Hole, Hunter Killer, that's the mission you're seeing on screen, those missions were pretty good. Everything else, though, was extremely forgettable. I completed MW3 somewhere between 5 to 7 years prior to this, so I was between 12 and 14, but aside from Dust to Dust and Down the Rabbit Hole, and Hunter Killer, yeah, those same missions I said were good, I didn't remember dick about shit when it came to MW3, so going back to it, as a soon-to-be 20-year-old creator, I was disappointed somewhat, I have to say. I don't want to develop a bias where I'm consistently comparing MW3 to MW2, but when MW3's identity is just being MW2 but worse, you force everybody to do that. So unfortunately, I can't do anything different. Despite how recycled it may come off as, MW3 does accomplish some really cool things. Take a look at Yuri, for example, the person we play as for the most part. His connections with Makarov, as well as his appearances in the missions, all gillied up and shocking off from Modern Warfare 1, or Remastered, whichever version you play. Take a look at No Russian from MW2. Yuri is present in all those missions, and it's a really cool way to connect the 3 games that much more. I thought that was greatly handled, and I'd love to see that more in these games. I was really happy to see that Nikolai got a bigger role in this game too. I felt like after saving him in MW1, he was sort of off to the side and only used when needed, but in MW3 they made him such a big part of the story, which was a long time coming for him. I like his character, so it was great to see him more. And lastly, the cast is always great. Soap and Price are the top tier characters of the Modern Warfare trilogy, and it's always great to see them on screen. Rest in peace, my friend, John Soap McTavish. And of course, the satisfying death of the big villain of it all, Makarov. He did go down in a pretty disturbing way, but at the end of the day, he deserved it, and it makes for one of the most satisfying villain deaths in any video game ever. So even if MW3 didn't accomplish the greatest things of all time, it did hit some parts very well. I'll give MW3 a 6.5 out of 10, just beating out Black Ops 3 by a little bit. Listen. I know this is a hot take, and I know I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but I will explain everything right away. I liked Modern Warfare. There was a lot of qualities about it that made it pretty good. The gameplay was sound. It wasn't the best I've ever seen, but I was very content with it, more so than MW3 and Black Ops 3. Keep in mind that because it's third last does not mean it's bad. It's actually quite the jump from MW3 in my opinion. This is where the campaigns are actually pretty good. MW is a sound game in the gameplay department. It plays very well, right? The gunfights are relatively good. It's not too repetitive or over the top. There are some very memorable missions out here. You look at the very clip on screen right now, and most of you know what's about to take place. And what is about to take place, no debate, no dispute, is one of the most memorable scenes in any Call of Duty mission ever. And it catches you off guard every time. Just bear witnessing to this load of destruction is a chilling but fantastic feeling that most games can't replicate. So why is Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare 4th place? It's because Modern Warfare is spectacle and gameplay way over story. I'm sorry, but Modern Warfare is not a great game if you're looking for a good story. It does the bare minimum, but if you're looking for something a little bit more complex, Modern Warfare isn't quite for you. I found that the villain Imran Zakhaev is more about gassing up somebody than him actually being a bad villain. Now, I know he's a bad guy, you probably know he's a bad guy, but the point is, he's not the most memorable minus the ending scene of the game. And the whole chasing down the sun thing, sorry, but how that ended to me was so over the top, it kind of looped around to being funny. Not wanting to be captured by the military, so he shot himself in the head. It's dark, and it caught me off guard when I watched it, because this is the first time I ever saw that. A great game to play, just lacking a bit of story. That's all. I think for that reason, Modern Warfare 1 does deserve a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good game. I would recommend it. Black Ops 1 is a fascinating title. It was a deeper story than those who played it when it came out were used to, because Call of Duty just didn't have the deepest stories back then, but Black Ops 1 shook that formula up. Now, I will admit that Black Ops 1's gameplay may not be the greatest. It's good, it's a very satisfactory level gameplay, but it's definitely not making any records. Now, we could talk about how its gameplay is passable and it's fun, but it's not the end-all to be-all, but we're not here for that. That's not why you play Black Ops 1. Black Ops 1 was super creative, and not just in its story, but its small quality of life changes too. Mason speaks! Holy shit, a protagonist who talks! Finally, some true innovation. Our protagonist isn't mute for a change. Even Reznov makes a return from World at War, which I've never played, but that's fine. And the fact that Reznov, a good character, comes to an exceedingly great cast, including Mason and Woods, a duality that can't be beat, right? Bowman, Weaver, Hudson, the 3 villains, Steiner, Kravchenko, Dragovich, all great characters, the best cast of any Call of Duty game, hands down. The fact that even JFK and McNamara make an appearance in the game too. Castro, they had balls when making this game. But that's what makes it so much fun. And there's lore in the game, right? There are parts of the story that you can't really look at on the surface. You gotta dig deep. You gotta grab intel and piece these stories together. The fact that intel has a purpose. That's a good touch. That's a really good touch. And the Easter eggs, being able to break out of the chair, that's a good touch too. I love that. You even get to find out a bit about Mason's family, and this game is just filled to the brim with personality and stories just within the characters themselves, let alone the game. Being brainwashed by the Russians is a whole new level of storytelling, but it works so well. It got sabotaged by Reznov, driving Mason's thirst for revenge against the three villains. It's an amazing story with good gameplay. It's not perfect, but it's so enticing. You want to move forward because the story's got you hooked on the chair from start to finish. Such a phenomenal experience done by Treyarch, and to think it's their third game overall? I know Call of Duty 3 didn't do so good, but World at War was recognized as being a really good story, and Black Ops 1 just hit it out of the park. Black Ops 1 is just fantastic, right? The story is probably the best out of any Call of Duty campaign ever, definitely of the ones I've played, and there's no denying it, right? We all love it. And if you guys want to pick up a controller and get right back into it right now, please go ahead. It's a great experience, and I totally recommend it. I'm going to give Black Ops 1 an 8.5 out of 10 just for the slightly weaker gameplay. Modern Warfare 2 is one of the 2 campaigns I've completed on Veteran. Modern Warfare 2 is the only campaign that I've completed a second time less than a week after the first time. You want to know why that is? It's because MW2 is such a blast to play through. Peak gameplay, right? Best gameplay of any game. Almost every single mission has a super fun gimmick to go with it. Cliffhanger has the ice picks in the snowmobiling section that is just a blast to play through. Contingency requires you to play like all gillied up. You could choose to shoot all of your enemies, or you can play it silently, which will lead you to a point where you have to defend a spot in the map. Okay, that's cool. And then you even have the Hornet's Nest, where you fail to make a jump, you fall to the ground, and you gotta run through all the buildings in order to get to the chopper before you're killed by the militia. That is fun stuff. That's what I like in my games. And Modern Warfare 2, as I said, has the best gameplay out of any game. And while the story isn't super strong, much like its predecessor, Modern Warfare 1, the villainy in this is so much better. Okay, show of hands. Who here thinks Makarov is way better than Imran Zakhaev? Yeah, that's what I thought. Way better. So much better. Even the 4th mission of the game, technically 3rd if you're not including the tutorial mission, no Russian? You're firing on a bunch of people in an airport! I mean, if that's not pure villainy right there, then what is? Shepard also works great as a secondary antagonist. While not quite as brutal as Makarov, he definitely has his own goals and agendas, which makes him unique. And even more so, he even gives you a reason. Back in Shock and Awe, when the nuke went off, that was him losing over 30,000 people in the blast. And he talked about how the world just turned a blind eye. He wanted Makarov for himself. He wanted to take the kill. He wanted to be the big war hero. And that motivation adds a layer of complexity to his character, something that Makarov doesn't quite share, even if he is the cooler villain in a sense. But that doesn't matter, because both types of villainy work well with each other, and it makes Modern Warfare 2 a much more solidified experience. And again, the story is not peak at all, right? It's about as bare minimum as you can get with a story like this. The entire idea of Modern Warfare, I've found, is that it's not about writing a deep and emotional storyline. It's about making you feel like one hell of a badass. And in Modern Warfare 2, accomplishes that in spades. So, of course, I think a 9 out of 10 is undebatable. Completely deserved. Nobody here should be surprised that Black Ops 2 is my favorite campaign. And why is that? Well, for a multitude of reasons. While the gameplay isn't quite as good as MW2 and the story isn't quite as deep as BO1, what makes BO2 work so well is the fact that it's second best in both, at least in my opinion. Let's deal with the elephant in the room first, the multiple endings part of this. There are 4 main endings with multiple sort of sub-endings, I guess you could say. The sub-endings differing the main endings a little bit, but the narrative not really changing accordingly. That part of Black Ops 2 is something that I love. I'm somebody who played a lot of Telltale games as I was getting a little bit older. I played all 4 seasons of Walking Dead and both seasons of Minecraft Story Mode. So having the capacity to get different endings with a bit of a different narrative of something that Telltale Games seems to understand how to do is really refreshing, and it's really unique. I'm glad Black Ops 2 did that. And not to mention that even as a linear game, it would have done great, right? You have a great villain like Menendez, where his source of anger and hatred towards Americans is grounded to this pain and suffering through the loss of his sister, Josefina. The futuristic part of Black Ops 2 serves as a subtle and unique way to incorporate new equipment without feeling like the futuristic side of things hijack the narrative. Black Ops 2's future offers a bit more sophisticated looking guns and cool equipment such as grenades that you can fire with your wrist as opposed to throwing them traditionally. Black Ops 3 says, here, take this DNI, shove it up your ass and make it reach your spine. Bringing challenges to the table, customizing the weapons you can go into a mission with. Those are all great things. The UI changing depending on what time period you're playing in. Excellent elements. The little touches are perfected here, and the big picture is still done superbly well, even if not perfect. Black Ops 2 is deserving of a 9.5 out of 10 because it's unique while it's fulfilled in the ways that people would love the most. It aspires to be more than just a typical Call of Duty game while still being a Call of Duty game. And that, to me, is why Black Ops 2 lived on so much, whereas Black Ops 3's campaign was mostly played and then looked down upon. Well, that concludes this video, everybody. I really do hope you enjoyed, and if you have some opinions that differ with mine or are similar to mine, please, regardless, tell me about them in the comments. I'd love to read them and hear what you have to say. With all that said, everyone, though, hope you have a wonderful day, take care, and goodbye.